Can I welcome you all officially to this EMCC Global GPS Dialogue? I'm beyond thrilled to welcome Ruairí to lead this fascinating discussion today. I've been really honoured to be working alongside Ruairí for a little bit on a course. I've been undertaking one of Ruairí's courses at EDelia Group. So I'm really super thrilled that Ruairí's here to lead this dialogue today. And without any further ado, can I hand you straight over?
Thanks, Nicola. And yeah, I'm glad that you're enjoying the course. It's great to have you on it. So you're all very welcome. My name is Ruairí. What we're going to do in the next hour is we're going to see if we can get as much of the wisdom that's on the screen here now as possible and share as much of that as possible. So would you do your best to break, see the chat box there at the bottom of your screen? We'd really like you to give us as much help and information and or questions and insights that you possibly can, and put them in the chat box if you don't get a chance to share them in the next hour. And then we'll have a half an hour to have a chat after that as well. I
was just wondering, actually, let's start off by breaking that chat box with just where you're from.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Because we saw countries from all over. Dublin, hey Raja, Norfolk, great, Czech Republic, UK. Nick, how are you doing? That's good. So that
London, Galway,
Cork, Ireland.
Oh, just around the corner from you, Ruairí.
Yeah, I'm trying to see. Oh, there's Margaret. Hey, Margaret. Good to see you. So yeah, throw that in. We'll spend at least. You'll get 2 chances to chat to people. Now, my own experience of these GPS dialogue series is that the best part and the most fun is when you go into the breakout rooms and you get to meet other people and have a chat. So please do your best to make new friends and to stay in touch after we finish this short presentation. The first thing I'm going to ask you to do is to have a think about the whole idea of, we're talking about embedding a coaching culture, in particular in a university. And we're interested, I suppose, in how you might go about that. I'll give you an account of what we've done at Munster Technological University. I see one of our coaches here, Margaret Ryan. Hey, Margaret, good to see you. But we'd love to learn from you what you've been doing, what's working for you, what kind of challenges that you've faced, maybe how you've overcome them or not, and what we can learn from that as well. And we're making a few assumptions. I suppose we're assuming that we have a common understanding of what a coaching culture is, what it looks like, which is probably a bit ambitious, but let's work on that premise that we have a kind of a general idea of what a coaching culture might be. So I'm going to ask Nicola to put you guys in little breakout rooms. And if you feel that you don't really want to get involved in a breakout room session, it would be a pity. But if you don't want to, that's okay. Nicola will put you in a separate group there. But please, I would encourage you to do that, because this is where the fun is now. Okay, so the first breakout room, 10-15 minutes, and I'd like you to think about, or to share 2 things. One, your own what brought you here. You know, what is it about your current practice that piqued your interest in about this, and then your experience of organizations, coaching cultures, where you've either worked with the organization to help embed a coaching culture, or where as a member of the organization you see where either the culture had somehow been embedded, or where it might benefit from the embedding of a coaching culture, so that when we come back, hopefully we'll get to share some learning from everybody in the group. I wonder about the whole idea of Socrates and Aristotle, and our Western society seems to be very much following the Aristotle view of whoever can argue or make the most logical argument, we seem to go with them. As coaches, we probably are more loyal to Socrates and the idea of inquiring and advocating together, so that we come to a wisdom together that we could not have come to alone. And hopefully in the next 55 minutes, we can advocate and inquire so that we come to a greater wisdom together. That's our ambition. So welcome from EDelia. We'll go into groups, a little bit of an introduction. Hey, Brian, Fáilte, Thomas Hamid, hey, and Kieran is here as well. It's nice to see some familiar faces. So we'd like you to share what your experience has been, what brought you here, and what your experience has been embedding a coaching culture, and what we can learn from you, from your experience. Thank you, guys, and we'll see you in 10 or 15 minutes there. And please break the chat box.
Break the chat box, absolutely. I'm just setting these up now. I know that a couple of people have joined within the last couple of seconds. So group members, please do let your new group members know what we're talking about as well. And I think it's important as well, because even if you haven't embedded a coaching culture yourself, you know what it is when you are going to an organisation, right? And you can feel that they've got a great ethos there as well. So I think it would be some really great conversations. I am going to open up the rooms, and I will see you in about 12 or 13 minutes.
Hey.
There we go, we're all in, Rory.
All right, great. Welcome back, guys. All right, well, hopefully you've met somebody new. Hopefully you met somebody, I'm sure, interesting. And hopefully you heard something useful that applies to your own situation. Please share with us, either through the chat or come on screen, something that you heard which will help us to promote coaching cultures in a school, in a university, thanks, or in an organization. We'd love to hear from you.
I have a small amount to offer, in that I spent the last 10 years of my working career building a learning and development function in an organization, with coaching as the sort of core of that. And I think, like everybody else, my experience was that at the beginning it was seen as a remedial thing, and people ran a mile and were very suspicious of it. But once they got over that, and we did use coaching for some of the awkward squad, and once people saw the impact that it had on them, suddenly they were paying more attention. Now, it wasn't just me. I was helped by a new CEO who really believed in coaching as well, and that helped a lot. He announced he had a coach. Suddenly people felt differently about it. But we put it into every training program in one way or another, so that people kind of thought about the skills of coaching, even if they weren't really understanding the power of coaching. If they learned to listen actively, to ask open questions, to try and be present to people, those sorts of things really became the kind of bread and butter every day of the development programs that we did.
Aoife, thank you very much for that. Any comments on, I know there's one comment in the chat. Any comments on that from anybody else?
We were just chatting earlier on, and I've recently become involved with the UK government apprenticeship program, which has a coaching provision, so that in England and Wales, not Scotland, England and Wales, the companies can access the money that the government's taken in the apprenticeship levy in order and have free access to, and certain conditions, to training as coaches. And I think certainly in an academic organisation I'm involved with, that's providing a means to get people trained and knowledgeable about coaching. And part of the training is about building a coaching culture, so that you know, where there is access to funding from government, I think that I think that's quite powerful in terms of facilitating people trying to build a coaching culture.
Yeah, it's as you were saying, I think it's amazing that there's no coaching apprenticeships. Even 5 years ago, if you said that, I don't think people would have bought into that at all. Nick is talking about the importance of senior sponsorship and that top-down idea. I mean, Aoife was saying that when the new CEO confessed that he had a coach, suddenly it was cool to talk about coaching. And there's no doubt that you know, when people look up an organization, if they can't see in the senior ranks, if they can't see what they've been asked to do, then they're very unlikely to take it on board. And that's certainly, we'll take a look at Peter Hawkins' roadmap, if there is such a thing, to coaching organizations. But that certainly is a big part of it. And it's interesting that it was the learning and development, it was from there that it grew up, Aoife.
Well, that turned out to be a kind of happy circumstance, I think. But it was really because that was where I had an opportunity. You know, that was my role, was to set up the learning and development function, and I was a great believer in coaching, so I put that in there as the center pillar. And just it turned out to be a lucky chance, a lucky decision.
Well, yeah, opportunity, meeting preparation, and all that. But so you were, from what you're saying, you were the driving force behind it. That, you know, because certainly our experience in MTU has been that it takes a champion, somebody to, you know, to drive it on.
I felt more like being the voice in the wilderness, if I'm truthful. But then, you know, other people did come on board who'd experienced coaching in other organizations, or, you know, the organization grew up a little bit and people came from outside. So suddenly I was one of a number as opposed to just me.
Yes.
That made a big difference.
For sure. And Nick, thank you, Nick. Can be a value to have it as a piece of, you know, something outside of HR, because again, that has certainly been our experience, that there's a certain amount of suspicion around any HR initiative can be seen as, well, it's another way to get more work out of us, kind of a thing. Any other comments before I inflict a couple of slides upon you there?
Hi, Rory. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, there's Kieran and David.
Go ahead, David.
I'll just say that I think that point about sponsorship is really, really important. I mean, a lot of what I've been involved with has been organizations wanting to train people as coaches and mentors, and asking the organization that I'm part of to go and deliver training. And what I really notice is that the whole feeling of it is very different if there is a director or a really senior leader who is one of the participants.
Absolutely.
And perhaps it's even better if they're not the HR person, to be honest. And certainly, I really enjoyed seeing people, you know, really take it. And part of the reason people have taken it often have been they've seen somebody role model in a senior role, not working in a directive way, thinking about other ways of doing things, thinking about how coaching ideas, concepts, ways of working can actually be a tool in their senior leadership tool bag.
Yes, thank you, David. Kieran?
Yeah, some great points there, David, and just I suppose echoing what you were mentioning earlier there, Rory. I was in a group with Anna and Angela, and it seemed that the word culture is a very important aspect of how coaching can become embedded in an organization. And I find it interesting that the private sector and industry has been the leader in this, even though it's not necessary, it's not overtly finance driven. Well-being would be a big part of it, and the education sector is, in terms of analyzing studies and research, is copping onto the fact that coaching can be quite transformative in terms of a culture in, for instance, a school organization. So yeah, I find it very interesting to see the education sector follow and look for some of the huge successes that industry has enjoyed from coaching, you know, and it is slowly becoming embedded in education, I think, certainly in Ireland.
With some of the feedback we get from organizations is that taking a coaching approach removes this burden that so many managers and leaders feel of always having to have the right answer, of always having to have the answer. And it is quite, first of all, it's impossible, obviously, to always have the answer, but it's a burden that is causing high levels of stress in many organizations. And when people adopt a coaching approach, that burden of having to have the answer is removed, because we are now on a different quest. We are working together to find the best answer. And that can be very liberating of that burden. So many of our young managers in particular feel that they hardly know the job well, as opposed, not to mention how to manage people. So that coaching approach, it's freeing for many people, many managers, many people who lead people, or many. So yeah. Okay, let me throw a few slides at you. I'll give you a quick run through the story of MTU and what little bits we've learned, and I'll wake you up when the slides are finished and we talk again. How does that sound? All right. So I'll try and share the screen here. And I am grateful to Nicola for making me co-host. Let me see. Really hope this goes. There's a lot of slides there. Now, what I'm going to do is skip through a whole lot of stuff here and just go to the meaty bits. Yeah, where does team coaching fit? So this is kind of born out of the whole idea of EDelia works an awful lot in the education sector, but even in the commercial sector clients that we work with, there's much weeping and gnashing of teeth around the type of approach that the training that people get in education, this kind of command and control type of approach, and the need to change how we do this, how we do things. Just a quick reference to the whole idea of Socrates versus Aristotle. Maybe we need to do more advocacy. Maybe we need to do more inquiry as opposed to just worry about constructing the best argument. This Peter Hawkins, well, just 2 years ago now since he said this at a conference we were at, but I think it is relevant to us as we try and explore how we can influence organizations, that coaching itself is becoming redefined, and it is now much more part of the daily dialogue in organizations, and is taking on a new form. This is what we're interested in. You've talked about that. So our own story. We at Munster Technological University, we used the EMCC's international standards for mentoring and coaching as our blueprint for how we would go about embedding a coaching culture. And it was useful on many fronts. It gave us a set of questions to ask ourselves and to build a framework. So for us, this was really useful. And forgive me if I skip through some of these because time is short. But we based a lot of our approach on the work of Helen Gormley and Christian van Nieuwenburg, who did this big meta study of what many organizations were doing in this space, and their findings we found very useful. And Christian is now up in College of Surgeons in Dublin, helping to embed a coaching culture there. But this study, they're the numbers on which it was based. You know, I can send you the slides if you want to kind of read through this. And but the bottom line is it was a pretty big study. And the findings, they also kind of redefined what they meant by, or what was meant by embedding a coaching culture. And they talked about it being as part of the strategic plans of the organization in a transparent or overt way. The findings: coaching improves performance, no surprises there. Coaching cultures take time to develop. Actually, myself, David and myself and Nicola were chatting there while you were in the breakout room about whether any organization can really claim to have a coaching culture embedded. So I'm going to skip that. You can read that. Okay, so the recommendations. I think these are the things that might be useful to us today. So they recommended that it be promoted throughout the organization by senior leaders. And that came up again when Aoife and David and Kieran were chatting. The presenting coaching as an integrated part of the organization or system, rather than a deficit model or an add-on. And the role modeling has already been mentioned as a key component of changing any culture in any organization. If it's not modeled at a senior level, it's never going to happen. So they were the key findings of that research. John Whitmore gives some guidelines about embedding coaching cultures, which, if you don't mind, I'll let you read if you want the slides. But I'd like to look at this one here. So this is Peter Hawkins, and I'm not trying to diss David Clutterbuck's work either. But we when I say we, MTU, use this. The idea of getting an external coaching provider certainly was a key part of what Munster Technological University did. Getting an outside group company to help with the process was how this started, and it's started in 2015. That's how long we've been working with MTU, and then we set about developing the internal coaching capacity. This leaders actively supporting coaching endeavours took quite a while. Since 2015, much has changed in the landscape of people's understanding of coaching. And I'll get to the chat box there in a second as well. So developing team coaching, that's in the process of. If you're interested in this area, then we leaned a lot on the work of Peter Senge, and then the team coaching work of Clutterbuck and Hawkins. They were the main people that we kind of leaned on. Okay, that's an account of MTU, which and it was the teaching and learning unit that started it. And I am flying through stuff now, but don't worry about that. You can get it again. But this is what we leaned on then. This framework, it was really useful to allow us to figure out where were the gaps, what do we need to work on, what were the kind of standards that we needed to reach to. And yeah, that's about you can don't. So these are the key initiatives that MTU set about doing. There's academic success coaching. There's a reach during COVID. Each of the students was assigned. Each staff member was assigned 50 students, and there was mentoring went on. There are EMCC accredited coaching programs that staff can attend. They can do a foundation level course. They can move on and do a practitioner level course. On the Masters in Teaching and Learning, there's a mentoring module, which is very popular. We have a staff induction mentoring program where, and yes, there's a distinction between mentoring and coaching, but they certainly is a very helpful symbiotic relationship there as well. So all new staff members are assigned a mentor. This initiative, the Life Coaching for Students, is a year old. Each student in MTU under the EDelia program is entitled to 4 free life coaching sessions, and that's been incredibly useful and popular. We've set up a coaching hub where people can access coaching material, and the CPD for administration staff is now very much coach education based and leadership development based. Taking the coaching approach has recently started as well. I'm going to stop sharing there for a second. Okay, so that, just let me check the chat. Oh yes, thanks. So there's a few things there, links to the ISMCP. Fabulous. All right. Now it's 18:43 and we would like you to chat again because that's the most important part. Any questions on the speed PowerPoint there, guys? Anything come up? Okay. Do you know, I taught Leaving Cert Physics for 35 years, so I know when you say, are there any questions, it means everybody understood everything absolutely perfectly in there, so I get it. Very good. Why don't you guys have a chat and we'll come back and debrief, right? So having heard a little bit of chat here and having had a whirlwind tour of what we did at MTU and the ISMCP, back into the rooms and have another chat.
Wonderful. Can I check how long we're going out for this time, Ruairí?
Well, let's see. We have to. Do you want to give it like 8 minutes?
Perfect.
Thanks.
There we go. Right, I'm opening them up now.
Super. Okay, so remember now what we're trying to do here is we're trying to learn as much as we can in a very short time about how we do this embedding of coaching cultures, whatever that means. So what have you heard that was useful, guys, that you'd like to share? Please.
Can I suggest something that we discussed with Sarah and Doreen? Unanimously, what you said, coaching approach takes away the burden of needing to know the answer.
Mm-hmm. You found that was really useful.
Yeah.
Okay, super. So that's a cornerstone of, you know, when we talk to organizations and they talk to us about the stress levels and the burnout and the wellness and invariably much of the stress is caused by this perceived burden of having to be right all the time. And what we encourage organizations to do is to stop chasing certainty, because it is not possible, and to work very hard on getting clarity. That clarity is possible, certainty is impossible. And so many organizations chase or feel that there is the right answer. And clarity, which makes, you know, Patrick Lencioni's work so simple and so applicable. Get clarity, communicate clarity, over communicate clarity. That's simple. The other pillar that is really useful when EDelia works with organizations is to remove this idea that consensus is possible. Consensus is neither possible nor desirable. What organizations need to chase is commitment. It is about commitment. Consensus does not exist. And of course, commitment is impossible without constructive conflict, which is impossible without a basis of trust. And again, that's back to Lencioni and his work. So when you are working with organizations, unless it starts with building trust, then everything else you do is going to be a complete waste of time. A question in the absence of trust is an interrogation. In the presence of trust, it is concern for the answer or for improvement. So that's why team coaching and embedding a coaching culture are definitely first cousins, if nothing else, because our you know, what we're learning from David Clutterbuck and Peter Hawkins and John Larry Joyce and all these people is about where that trust, how to build it, and why it's so important. So Natalie, thank you for that. There, good. Anybody else want to share what we've, you know, something we've learned today that will help us to do this? And
I like the kind of multifaceted approach of what you described. You've been able to put together, and I think kind of allowing people enter into coaching through whichever door happens to suit them, regardless of the organization, is a wise course of action, because people come to it in different ways and via different routes.
For sure, yeah. Eva, that's we have to take our wins wherever we can get a win. But the what's in it, you know, the what's in it for me brigade is useful, because coaching is really useful when people learn that you know, by taking a coaching approach, their individual assessments with people become a much easier conversation, or that their feedback to students becomes less adversarial. Their management style is enhanced by it. There is an immediate feedback. There's an immediate payback, which whets the appetite for, you know, to know or learn more. Yeah, it's Christian's and Helen's research, that, you know, the third major point about it taking time you know, we've been embedded in MTU since 2015. And every year it evolves in a different way. But we did find the ISMCP framework very, very useful, because it's a, you know, it was like a menu. MTU became the first third level institution in the world to achieve the ISMCP accreditation, which was good for EDelia, was good, you know, it's like the Athena Swan idea. It's external recognition of the efforts of the university to do something innovative and to help with the culture in the organization. So it's a bit like in primary schools. If you get a green flag, it's, you know, it gives external affirmation to the university, which is really useful when you're trying to sell it at management level or at admin level, because you know, if it raises the profile of the university, then that's good for everybody. Yeah.
Let's put that link to ISMCP in the chat again, just for ease.
Thanks.
And you know what I've noticed, we're at the top of the hour already. How did that happen?
How did it happen?
So
Yeah, right. The non-linearity of time. That physics is just so useful. Yeah. So yeah, how do you want to look? Whatever you do, if this is your first GPS kind of thingamajig, get to know somebody else in the room now that you don't know. That's your major quest. Because that's what you'll take away. It's another contact in the coaching world that you can swap and learn from. That's crucial. And look, stay in touch with me if you have any questions. Like, we just scrape the surface of what's happening with it. But bottom line is, we're interested in that area of how we embed a coaching culture. We're very interested in talking to other people who are interested in it. So please stay in touch, because there's so much, you know, we're just figuring it out. Like, all right, lads. So hang on, if you want to chat or have a smoke or something, I'll open a bottle of whiskey here and spread it around.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, lads.
Thanks, Rory.
you.
Thanks very much, Rory.
Thank you, Rory.
If you want to,
Thank you, Rory.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Aoife.
Thanks a lot to you both. Thank you.